Here we go. Hello, and welcome back to the Palm of Pioneer Pantry. It has been a long time since we put out a video, and I am sorry for disappearing on you with no warning or explanation. But as you can see, there is an explanation. I am currently almost 6 months pregnant, and it was planned, expected, but this pregnancy kind of knocked me off my feet a lot more than my pregnancy with my first, and everything went all the way down to basics, like we're lucky we're eating food and have clothes to wear. And most of that was because of my husband. So filming videos and putting them up, much less having anything other than me being in bed or over the toilet to film, wasn't happening for quite some time. And we will talk more about that and more about things to come. But for now, what we're doing today is I have been wanting to kind of get onto more of a routine with our meals so that it's easy, so that I can get into the habit before this baby comes, because I know things will go crazy again when this baby comes. And with the beginning of this pregnancy, I realized that just trying to make new things and try new things as like my regular routine wasn't maintainable when I'm not at my best. And since no one's at their best right after they have a baby, I decided that in the last 3 or so months of this pregnancy, I want to get us into a routine of meals that if we want to break from it and I have energy to cook or my husband wants to do something, great. But if not, I know, okay, it's Thursday, we're having tacos, or I haven't completely decided exactly what the routine's going to be. I thought I had, and then, anyway, one of those things for that routine is one of my husband's favorite meals is sloppy joes, and I actually quite like them too. And they're an easy thing to put veggies into, so if I don't make a veggie side, I don't feel quite as bad because there's some veggies in the filling. And that is what we're going to do today. We're going to make a bunch, at least 4, maybe more. I've got 6 pounds of meat here, so we'll make at least 4 freezer meals of sloppy joes. And then I also have a bunch of onions and garlic that I bought at Costco before I got pregnant, when I was using lots of fresh onions and garlic. And it's been in my basement, which is doesn't get too hot or humid, and so it's not really sprouting. Oh no, the onions are definitely sprouting. Anyway, the garlic seems okay. So if we don't get to that today, it's okay. But I want to make sure that we get at least some of these onions processed up so they can go kind of in little pucks in the freezer. I might caramelize some extras as well and put those in the freezer, so that all I have to do is reheat them, not fully caramelize them. And we're going to put together our sloppy joe meals, and we'll see how much of the extra preserving we get to. So let's get started. First things first, because caramelizing onions takes time, but also the ground beef takes time. We're going to turn our burner on. I've got my cast iron here, Dutch oven, and some of this is still a little bit frozen, so we might get more preserving done than I thought while we wait for the meat to thaw. But the first thing we'll do is get all of this ground beef into my Dutch oven. And I'm realizing I brought all the things I was going to need just right here. I didn't bring the trash can where I can reach it. So, we're going to bring the trash can. Okay. So my pregnancy with my son, my first, yes, I had a little bit of nausea during my first trimester, but it was mostly just like I felt like I was car sick and mean, I also didn't have any children, and we lived in a little tiny apartment for most of that pregnancy, and so there wasn't much to do to keep us clean. We didn't have any kids. We were both working full time, so just going out to eat wasn't a big deal. Anyway, first trimester was not too bad. Second trimester, I have never been that happy in my entire life. Like, it was like, it was like heaven. I was like, I should be pregnant all the time, because I just felt so good with the hormones, and even like physically my body felt really good for the whole second trimester and well into the third trimester. Towards the end I got the, I'm huge, everything hurts, but even then it wasn't too bad. With this pregnancy, the nausea was about the same, but when you have a 1-year-old running around needing care, and you live in an actual house and have more responsibilities, feeling like you're car sick all day long is a lot harder. And I don't know exactly why, but I was a lot more tired my first trimester this time around, like noticeably more tired. And I don't know if that's because I had a 1-year-old running around, or if it's because I didn't let myself recover enough after the first pregnancy, like right after the first pregnancy, or if it's because I only waited a year to get pregnant again. And that was approved by my midwife, and I felt completely back to normal. Like, I just realized I opened all that beef, raw meat, right on my cutting board. Most of it is probably fine because it's just the outside, like all I did was cut it open. But at the same time, I don't feel like I can use it now. So we're gonna put a lid on this so that it can help start thawing, finish thawing, and get the beef started cooking. And we're gonna scrub this, and I'll be right back. Okay, scrubbed. And we can put these away. Take that off the stove. Anyway, so basically I was, like I said, down for the count the entire first trimester. And that was really hard mentally. Because as you all know, I was doing really good. I was trying all these new things. I was learning new skills and just having I felt like I was where I wanted to be with figuring out how to have a baby. And so to kind of be brought straight back to ground zero, rock bottom, was very, very difficult. But the worst part was that as I went into the second trimester, it didn't stop. Well, I should say, the nausea changed. I was no longer car sick all day. Instead, I was vomiting in the mornings and feeling nauseous occasionally throughout the rest of the day as well. More typical morning sickness. And so it just wasn't like I had expected this surge of energy and to start feeling better, and instead I just got a new kind of misery. And so that really took quite a toll on my mental health, which made me really tired again. Anyway, finally, maybe a month ago, one of my doctors, who I've been working with throughout my pregnancy, suggested, which none of this is outside the normal range for a pregnancy. I should just put that out there. My pregnancy has not been as bad as many of my friends' pregnancies have been. I did not end up in the hospital, nothing like that. I should be absolutely clear about that. It just was more difficult for me than I expected, and it was not something that I ever want to do again. Not that I don't ever want to be pregnant again. I do still probably want to have more kids. I don't know. We'll see. But I just want to make that... Oh. Well. Okay. In addition to sprouting, I think my onions might be moldy. So I'm definitely not going to use this onion. We'll cut the others open and see. I feel kind of bad that I let them get moldy, but what can you do? Nope. Might be salvageable. I mean, there's only 3, so I did get through most of them. Okay, at least this side of this one looks good. It's okay. Grace. Give yourself grace. So, like I said, it was bad in that it was really, really hard for me. And that's why I've been gone for so long. But it was not... I am not claiming to be the most... I'm not claiming that I had the worst pregnancy ever, if that makes any sense. So about a month ago, I was talking to one of my doctors, and she suggested that maybe I was still nauseous because I wasn't eating enough. Which, I mean, is true. I was, almost 20 weeks pregnant, and I gained maybe 3 pounds total, which last time I had gained much more than that, like to the tune of like 10 pounds, 10 or 12 pounds by 20 weeks. And I hadn't really been worrying about it because no one else had been worried about the weight gain yet. And she wasn't worried about me not gaining weight. She just said it was an indicator that maybe I just wasn't eating enough. And so she recommended that I eat a really high protein snack right before going to sleep at night. And so that night we had chicken for dinner, and I wasn't feeling great, so I didn't eat very much of it. And as I was getting ready for bed, I was like, oh right, I'm supposed to eat a high protein snack. So I ate the rest of the piece of chicken that I hadn't eaten for dinner. And I woke up the next morning and I wasn't nauseous. And so I ate scrambled eggs for breakfast and kind of like tentatively went about my day, and I wasn't nauseous. And let me tell you, after months of nausea and feeling like there was nothing I could do about it and vomiting randomly, not feeling nauseous was amazing. So I continued doing that, and I still do. I rarely eat chicken. Okay, yeah, this side is, I think, lost. I rarely eat chicken, but for my bedtime snack, but I usually will eat boiled egg whites, or I'll eat a few slices of cheese, If I'm really like in a hurry and tired and just need to go to bed, I will eat a spoonful of peanut butter. Basically, whatever's the easiest high protein thing I can get my hands on, that is what I eat right before bed. And then I try to make sure that I have something with good solid protein in it for breakfast. And I haven't had a really nauseous day since. There have been moments where I'm like, oh, I haven't eaten enough because I'm starting to feel a little bit sick, but then I go eat something and it makes me feel better, not worse, which is really all I ask from food. And dang it, now I'm flipping meat onto my cutting board again. It's okay. Anyways, so that ended and I slowly started to get some of my energy back. Ooh, that's like rotten, like fruit fly rotten. So I'm not sure I'm even willing to touch any of the onions in the rest of that bag. I'm gonna put this outside. Okay, suffice it to say that I left the onions too long before dealing with them. Grace, grace, grace. We got a half an onion. And we'll have to substitute the rest with minced onions and onion powder. It'll be fine for this time. But it just goes to show this is why pantry maintenance is so important. It's something that I was just starting to learn when I started this channel, and clearly I dropped the ball. But it's okay, because life is about trying again, and that's what I'm gonna do. And in that case, I think what we're gonna do is actually just chop this little bit of onion by hand, because then our garlic won't be so oniony. I don't know if that's a thing. I feel like almost anything that I put onions in, I also put garlic in. But, and then anything that but I don't put onions in everything that I put garlic in. So, maybe that's the difference. Anyway, so we'll chop this by hand, and then we can see how much of that garlic is salvageable. So part of the reason I'm chopping these onions so fine is because my dad, who, I mean, he visits every now and then, really doesn't like the texture of onions. He doesn't mind their taste, but he doesn't like their texture. And so I always chop things up really fine for him. And who knows when I'm going to use these meals, if he'll be here. And so there's that. And then I actually, unless the onions are really well sauteed, like caramelized basically, I don't particularly like the texture of onions either. And so since there's so little of them, I'm not going to take the time to caramelize them. And I think that having them chopped small will make it easier for them to soften, get really soft, just being cooked with the meat, and then I won't notice the crunch. And this is actually, I think, doing okay. It's slow going, but I think it's not gonna burn, at least on the bottom, as I wait for it to finish. which is good. I've been, so as I was sick, I wasn't even watching YouTube, really. Like I literally was not doing anything except the absolute bare minimum. And so recently, in the last couple of weeks, I have been using my catch-up chore time to also catch up on my favorite YouTube videos. And I've been watching a lot of Acre Homestead. And in one of her recent videos, she reminded us that when you're cutting, you want your fingers up on the blade. And it's surprising what a big difference it actually makes with how easy it is to chop something. Anyway, just a thought. Okay. I think we're going to call that good for the onion. And I don't really want to put it in there until the meat is mostly done. So we're going to get a bowl and set it aside while we work on some garlic. Plate. We're going to put it on a plate. Okay. And then, rather than completely cleaning this and getting all of the onion taste off of it, we're just going to flip it over for the garlic. And I gave up my compost bin to put outside, so I need a new one. Oops. Good reminder. I've been trying to do better about wearing aprons because with the belly sticking out more, I'm even more prone to spilling things and getting my clothes dirty. Oh, I should mention, so this beef that we're cooking, this ground beef, is actually from, we bought a quarter of a cow for the first time, and it's very exciting, and it's been really great. Having it in my freezer has been, I don't know, it's just nice. Like, I don't have to worry about buying meat at the grocery store, and I do still have to remember to take things out to thaw. Speaking of which, I still haven't taken out a roast for Sunday, but now that I think about it, we might actually use a freezer meal that a friend of mine made for me, because this is our first weekend that we're home for a while. We've been doing lots of things on the weekends recently, vacations and things like that. And so I kind of would like to just relax a little bit more, rather than, not that roast is that much work, but I think a freezer meal will be easier. Okay, well, we might, I don't know why I put that in there. We might lose a bunch of this garlic too. Okay, I can't bear to do this. I can't go through this bag and check every head. It's just reinforcing to me this specific individual failure. So I'm not going to. The food won't go completely to waste. It will all go out to the compost, which at the moment is just I'm digging holes in the garden and burying food because we have dogs, and so I can't leave it not buried in a pile, and I have not. Building compost bins is nowhere near the top of my to-do list. Okay, so we are not going to worry about this. It's going to go outside with the rest of the onions. Maybe I'll take you along with me as I bury it in the garden for our compost later. I'm going to get things a little bit tidied up so that we can finish up with this, put away my food processor that we no longer need. Yes, we do. I have a zucchini in the fridge that we're going to use to put in this, so we will still need the food processor. We need to get things a little bit cleaned up, and I'll see you back here in just a minute. I do not have a zucchini in the refrigerator. I have a piece of mold in the refrigerator. One of the things that I've been working on specifically in the last 2 or 3 months of me just continuing to feel really awful is accepting my limitations and working within them. And one of those limitations has been that I have not been able to cook and try new things and make homemade recipes and things like that, like new things. And I have been trying really hard to not buy food to make things with when I know that that is not going to happen. You're seeing right now my last failures of that, because other than this, our fridge is fairly empty of things that are not specific leftovers that I know we will eat because they've already been cooked into meals. And this that I'm making right now is going in the freezer, so it's not going to go bad. And for the next little while, I'm not going to be buying produce in bulk. I do plan to make salsa. I'll show you probably tomorrow in another video. Our little garden that I did manage to do this year, I'm very proud of that. And we've had some tomatoes coming in, and we have potatoes out there. We actually have some peppers, which I didn't think we were going to get any peppers because like they didn't flower for forever. So we might get some peppers. Anyway, so I do plan to do at least one batch of salsa, and I'll buy however much produce I need to finish that batch from whatever we don't get from our garden. And I do plan to preserve up our potatoes, all of them, by canning them and maybe dehydrating some of them. There's a couple things I've seen like that. So I do plan to do that as kind of a bulk thing. But other than that, I'm not doing anything else this year big and in bulk because the waste just kills me and I have to work within my limitations. Anyway, that is my, I don't know, I feel like this video is kind of sad for a first welcome back, hi video, but this is real life. And I'm not sad. I mean, I feel disappointed in myself for wasting food. But when I look at it, I realize that I have learned and I'm doing better. And it's just another opportunity to move forward and do things in a way that is really true to the purpose that I feel in regards to food, which is to feed my family, and if possible, feed my family good tasting, healthy food that fits within our budget and gives them somewhat of a variety, at least. And that does not require me to do all of the other things that I want to do. And it doesn't require me to do all of the things that I see people on YouTube doing or Instagram doing, or even friends and neighbors doing. And that's okay, that I don't have to do those things. Someday, I will do the big canning days again, and I will have a huge garden and preserve up the harvest. But that is not, right now, that's not the season of life that I'm in. Me personally, some people can do it, and I am very impressed by them, but I am not letting myself feel less than them, because I'm really good at other things. I am a really, really good mom. I just don't put that on YouTube because anyway, so this beef is almost all the way cooked. I'm going to try to drain off some of the fat and liquid, not necessarily all of it, because this is going to be a crock pot meal, and so having extra fat and liquid in there will help it to taste better, I think, when it comes out of the crock pot. Help the meat to not get dry. Not that sloppy joe meat is ever dry, considering how much other stuff you put in it. But getting all of the fat out is just too much work. So we're gonna let this, actually I think we're gonna add the onions right now. I should have drained the fat first, but we're gonna add the onions and let them cook in the fat for a little while. Okay, so we're gonna let that cook for a little bit longer. I'm gonna get all of this put away, and then I'll come back. Okay, cleaned up, things look good. Time to attempt to drain some of the fat of this meat. And I think I'm actually going to take it off the stove to do that, because a glass top stove is a terrible, terrible burden. It may be aesthetically pleasing to some people, but let me tell you, cleaning it is impossible. Okay, that's not feasible for me. I'm not that patient. It's still pretty hot. Kind of a baby when it comes to hot things. And I can't see, so hopefully this is all going into the pot, not onto my counter and floor. Let me tell you, 5 or 6 pounds of meat in a big cast iron pot is heavy. Let's see. Okay. I think that's all I'm going to easily get out of here without like transferring all of the meat out as well. So we're going to call that good. Turn the stove back on. I try to be extra vigilant about turning the stove off because I have twice caught things on fire on this stove top by forgetting that I had the stove on and leaving some kind of cloth on the stove because there are no burners. It's just flat. I mean, there are burners, but it's flat. Anyway, so I try to be extra vigilant about turning the stove off now. Set that aside so it can harden and be thrown away. Well, we'll see. If I get a nice fat cap, I'll save the fat. But okay, so I kind of mix a few different recipes when I make sloppy joes. I'm not particularly a fan of sweet meat, like barbecue. I really dislike barbecue, and sloppy joe recipes almost always call for brown sugar, and I don't add brown sugar, ever. But I have 3 different recipes that I use just kind of as like a base. I'll link them in the description. And I also just kind of wing it. So we're going to add a can of diced tomatoes. Oh, and I probably should have added the spices and let them cook for a little bit before this, but that's okay. We'll add them next. So we're going to add some salt. Black pepper, garlic powder. Oh, actually, I do have minced garlic. I have minced garlic, so we're going to add that. If I can get it open. There we go. A couple big spoonfuls of that. But we will add a little bit of garlic powder just they're different. And we're going to add, well, that's no good. Fix that later. Going to add our minced onions. I'm actually probably going to add the whole rest of this jar since we didn't have very many onions to add fresh. A little bit of garlic powder or onion powder as well. And I think as far as spices go, that's all we're going to do. Then I'm going to add a can of tomato sauce. No, we're definitely going to need both cans of tomato sauce. Which, I should have known that. The recipe that suggests using tomato sauce calls for 1 can of tomato sauce to 1 pound of ground beef. And I have, I think, 6 pounds of ground beef in here. So even with my other random ingredients that have a watery-ish liquidy consistent, even with my other random liquid ingredients, we're definitely going to need 2 cans of tomato sauce. That's looking much better. Okay, and then a couple of recipes that I've seen have called for yellow mustard. My husband doesn't like yellow mustard, so we don't really keep it in the house most of the time. But I'm going to add a little bit of Dijon mustard. Worcestershire sauce. Actually, add a little bit more than was left in that bottle, because Worcestershire sauce is kind of the sweetener that I use. Depending, I might add a little bit of ketchup if it doesn't look too runny. Also, if you're in a hurry, I have actually done this where, other than quickly browning the meat, I didn't cook the sloppy joes at all, or the onions or anything else. I just put them in a bag as it was, tried to kind of mix them in the bag, and called it good. And it turns out fine. I just had the time today, and so I figured I would kind of cook them all together a little bit, at least. It actually smells really good to me, which is not uncommon, but a little bit, you know, with the OCD and all that. Okay. Debating whether I should try it. I am going to try it, because I should. And really, you think, just stick a spoon in it. But this is me we're talking about, and I can't do that. So we're going to put it on a little piece of bread. And I think that was just like that. So. Right on the edge, so I can just take a little bit of the bread. See, this is the real problem with me trying my own food. As I taste it and I go, not quite right, but I have no idea what I'm missing. Well, it doesn't taste too sweet to me. So maybe it's missing sweet. I don't think it tastes particularly acidic, but maybe that's what that is. So I think I'm going to add a little bit of ketchup. Maybe it needs more pepper. Or let me check my other recipes and see if maybe there was a different spice that they suggested that I left out this time. No. If I wasn't so afraid of it ending up too spicy, I would add something spicy, like chili powder or something. But I really want to be able to eat this. So we're just going to go with the black pepper and the ketchup and call that good. So that's it for making them. I have discovered that it's very, very, very important to let your meals cool all the way before you try to put them in plastic bags. So I'm going to take this off the heat and let it sit until it's cool, probably until after bedtime. And then I will bring you back when I put it into the bags and we put it in the freezer. So, see you then. Okay, so I have about 10 minutes before I need to leave for an appointment this morning, but I didn't get the Sloppy Joes put in bags last night, so I'm going to do that right now before I have to leave. And I mean, having them cold is actually probably a good thing. Makes it a little easier. Got disposable bags because I have found that they are just easier to work with when it comes to this kind of thing. And just gonna scoop it in, and once it's kind of separated out, I will flatten them. And then put them in the freezer to freeze flat. That's another thing I'm hoping to do today with the next video, is I would like to kind of reorganize our freezer again, freezers, because I want to keep different things inside than we have been keeping inside. Things that we use more regularly, or things that I want to be able to just grab and pull out. And also because we went in with friends, they raised pigs, and so we bought a half pig from them, and it went to the butcher recently, and so we need space in our outside freezer for half a pig. Which means I need to reorganize things because it's a bit of a mess. So hopefully you'll see that in the next video, as well as burying the compost from yesterday, and see what else we get to. But I'm really happy to be back. This is very motivating once again for me, which is nice as I'm getting back into the swing of things before baby comes. So thank you for being here. I hope that you are also having a good day, and we'll see you next time on the Palma Pioneer
If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and I'll pop a couple of videos up that you can watch between now and our next upload. Have a great day.
Okay, and then